create me to worry. You did not create me to fear. But you created me to worship daily. So I'ma leave it all right here. My hands are raised because I surrender. Your will is what's best for me. I worship you because you're Jehovah Jireh. I bow before the King of Kings. No more crying, no more complaining. I believe your word is true. Lord, you promised never to leave me lonely. So this is what I'm going to do. I will trust in you, Lord. I will trust in you, Lord. I will put my trust in you. I will trust in you, Lord. I will trust in you, Lord. I will put my trust in you. Did not create me to worry.
Mommy, the pizza done.
Oh, I forgot.
It's warm up, Mommy.
Love, as I have loved you. What does that really mean? Sometimes it's hard to understand what Jesus meant when he said it, because in the world that we live in, people love us based on circumstance or preference. Like, if I like what you like, you'll like me. Or if I do what you do, you'll accept me. Yet the one that should have rejected me because I wasn't at all like him didn't. Matter of fact, in spite of my imperfections, failures, and flaws, Christ saw something in me that was worth reconciling back to him. So it's no longer I who live, but he who lives through me, and gives me the courage to fearlessly love you, despite what you do to me, or how you treat me, at my job, at my school, at my church, even in my own family. So let's not view each other in light of our earthly stature, but more as Christ's ambassadors, showing the world that we who are once blinded to this love have tasted this love and lived to share his love. I believe this, and only this, will help put an end to hate and animosity. It ain't no wishful thinking, man. It's his philosophy. And prayerfully, it's our democracy. That if we did, it would change everything.
Give me a thumbs up. I know I just had something down there. Okay, can't hear. What about now? Can you hear me now? I had the volume down. So if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I know I'm playing the music in the background, but if it's a pretty decent balance, let me know. Okay? Other than that, I'll wait for you all to give me a thumbs up whether or not you can hear me. You know, I should have made those adjustments. How you doing, Jesse? Great. Thank you, Jonah. Jonah gave me a thumbs up on that. If you're here for the first time in this chat room, give me a number 1. No, put in the word new. If you're new in the chat room, put in the word new, N-E-W, new. So we can just recognize you and just say hello. So if you're new in the chat room, put in new. All right, thank all of you all for letting me know that the music and the balance is always, I feel like having some music in the background tonight. I don't know why, but I just do. Let's do some live chat tonight. All right, Jesse Davis is new. Jesse, where are you from? Let us know where you're from. Jesse is new. If there's anybody else, let us know that you're new, and then also let us know where you are from. Where are you joining in with us tonight from? You all do that. I like to hear from you and all of that good stuff and where you're coming from and all like that. So that's important to us to know where you are, who you are, and who's with us tonight. And we're going to start a live chat. Now, don't forget, we are giving out constantly a lot of information via our phone app. We're able to keep you all posted with pretty much everything that's going on. Greensboro, North Carolina. Awesome, wonderful. Rialto, California, way out there in LA. I can't say we're out there in Los Angeles where the riots are because we have them here also. I want you all don't forget our phone app. That's very important because you will get push notifications. I didn't do one tonight, but pretty much I normally do. Now you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and I'm going to bring up our phone app, and I'm going to put in the phone app that we're live. I'm going to do that right now. I should do that because I always ask you all to go and download that phone app. So I'm going to put some information in there about our phone app, and then I'll be right back because I'm going to do a push notification and let everybody know that has the phone app that we are live right now. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to wow, what happened? Invalid email. So yeah, this is an application that I can go live with and let people know that we're on, even though I'm on right now. So that's why I want you to download that phone app so you can get push notifications live and also what's going on. So here's information on our phone app. You all check it out. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right, I pushed that out. I let everybody know that we were on right now and for them to come on in and join with us. So that being said, chat, live chat, just reality chat. Listen, there is a lot going on out here. We're in the midst of a pandemic that historically comes every 100 years. We're also in a riot situation dealing with the gentleman that out of Minnesota, the Floyd family going through. A few weeks ago, we dealt with Ahmaud Arbery, then Breonna up in Louisville, Kentucky. We are dealing with unrest every place. But one of the things that makes this a little bit different, there's nothing prophetic revealing in this. There's something historically revealing in this because the Bible is still on track. We're still going through what we're going through, and we will. The next big thing to happen is a tribulation. But this is just a part of the things that we see when we open up the scriptures. What is so unique about this is that we have a point in time in our society that we have a pandemic that happens every 100 years. We have a riot that's taken place, a civil unrest. And what makes that different? Let me go back. This is not the first time in the past 30 years that we've had riots. We've had the Michael Brown riot. Going before that, we had the Rodney King riot, where it sparked in multiple cities and states, just like it is right now. It's not new that people are doing looting. It's not new that police have caused a riot. This is nothing new. What makes this different and what makes it unique is that we have a situation where we even have, this is a multi-ethnicity riot. This is a multi-ethnicity cause. Almost like we've never seen before, dealing with police issues. Now, we've had riots and demonstrations wherein there were a lot of multi-ethnic groups that joined in. During the 60s, during the civil rights movement, there was countless multiple ethnic groups that joined in the cause. Multiple groups were demonstrated. Multiple groups, multi-ethnic groups, march, and what have you. So America is used to this, but not during a pandemic, not as a result of police brutality. So I wanted to just talk about it tonight. I just wanted to talk about it, maybe perhaps look at some observations that you are making in the chat room regarding this, and look at these as historical issues. This riot has become global. So in the 60s, when you look at some of the footage, you had a multi-ethnic join-in, primarily African Americans, because it was a cause, but you had multiple multi-ethnic groups that jumped in, and that was during the civil rights era in the 60s, where many people joined. Now, as a result, I'm going historical, whenever that happens, change takes place. So during the 60s, when it was only one group of individuals marching, when there was one group, change didn't come. But after the death of Martin Luther King, it sparked a international observation that it prompted multi-ethnic groups to jump in on the cause, and that's when change came. Even in this situation that happened, it'll be a week ago tomorrow, dealing with Brother Floyd, is the fact now multi-ethnic groups are jumping in. And I believe that there's going to be some sort of policy reform as a result of this. Thank you, Sister Lady J. All of you all that's in the chat room, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Let's build up our algorithms here. So I'm just bringing out some live chat with some realities and some observances that I have taken note. Now, you know I'm a person that look at things from a historical standpoint and from a biblical standpoint. The Bible cannot be changed. The Bible is what it says. What's going to happen, when it's going to happen, what's going to unfold, how it's going to unfold is already documented prophetically, and it's going to do it in its time and in its season. And in fact, the scriptures gives us that season. It's when people don't understand the seasoning and the timing of the prophecies in the scriptures. This is where other things creep in, and then people put a lot of different twists on it. But I'm not addressing that issue. What I'm addressing is what historically has happened in the past. And what has happened in the past, brothers and sisters, whenever there is a demonstration after the death of Martin Luther King, it prompted multiple ethnic groups to join in worldwide, and then that is what brought about reform. That's what brought about reform. It was the passing of those reform laws, the civil rights movement, that did away with the Jim Crow laws, that made policy. And no doubt, policy is going to change. Practices are going to change. Accountability as it relates to police and the community are going to change as a result of this issue, because multi-ethnic groups have jumped in. That's history. That's nothing prophetically. That's history. And so when you look at that, that's when reform is going to take place. So we're going to see that take place in the months to come. One of the other unique things that's in this is that we are in the midst of a pandemic. So while this is going on in the midst of a pandemic, you just have to sit back and watch and say, wow, how is this one going to unfold? One of the things that I've looked at, and I've looked at historical numbers, is this. The Spanish flu killed 675,000 people in the United States alone. 50 million worldwide. This pandemic, dealing with the coronavirus, has reached slightly over 100 deaths in the United States. Nothing near the 675,000 that it did back in 1918 through 1920 era. Here's what alarms me. Is that we don't have a vaccine. There is not a solid antibiotic that can deal with this pandemic. So this pandemic is still very much alive. Back in the 1918, 1919 era, when the Spanish flu came, it's not the first time that churches, schools, and stores were closed down, post offices and all like that. And there was a rush to come back and open things up. They had masks, they had social distancing back in 1918, they had it. The second wave, which was the rush to get back into the swing of social normacy, is when the numbers peak so high. What alerts me to look at this very closely from an observation standpoint is there was a rush to get back. There was a rush to come back into the swing of things. And as that rush came forth, people started to, let's get this thing back going. Let's start to open back up. There were demonstrations that were starting to take place in various locales to put pressure on politicians, mayors, governors, and what have you to open America back up. The issue is when they started to go into a phased approach, now we have what occurred. We had what occurred last week, Monday. That has sparked an unprecedented, I can't say it's unprecedented because it happened in the 60s, where you had multiple ethnic groups that joined in for a cause. That's what we have right now, but it's in the midst of a pandemic where you see some people with masks, some people not with masks, some people screaming and hollering. And if the coronavirus is as active as it is stated to be, then in the weeks to come, we could reach high numbers of infections, not necessarily deaths, but infections. The Spanish flu, there were 500 million people affected. 500 million affected. 50 million deaths out of that 500 million worldwide. 675,000 of that 50 million took place in the United States. So you can look at some numbers and you can say, okay, if 500 million people were impacted, 10% resulted in deaths. Out of that 50 million that resulted in deaths, you have to look at the 675 and say about 1 million would be 1/5. So it was slightly under that, and 1/5 would be 20%, but it was under that. So I would say about 15% of the worldwide deaths will take place in the United States. And that's what the numbers are showing right now. The United States is ranking up there to have more deaths. Well, because we have a larger population. But what's making me look at these numbers is the fact that we are in the midst of a pandemic with a riot / demonstration where multi-ethnic groups have joined together, have joined forces, and there is no social distancing. So what impact would that have? What would the numbers look like when it comes to the coronavirus in the weeks to come? We don't know. It's a wait and see game. It really is. It's just to wait and see. So I would imagine there are going to be people both on law enforcement side, people who are doing peaceful demonstration side, people who are demonstrating not peaceably. All of those categories are going to be impacted with coronavirus. If the coronavirus is still active as it is reportedly to be. So that's what makes this whole situation unique. So as a person that is that was teaching. I was teaching on a collegiate level. Public administration was my expertise in teaching. I taught at Barry University, and I also taught at Phoenix University and at Everest Institute. Everest Institute does not exist anymore. Phoenix University still does. So looking at history is one of the things that I was called to do. Looking at policy, because I taught policy making, to see how things go. The media is pushing policy. On top of all of that, you are in the midst of an election year. You're right in the midst of an election year, and all of that chemistry thrown in. You got an election year, you have a country that's divided, you have a Democratic Party that is divided, you have a Republican Party that is backing a president, but maybe they're certain it's the right thing to do. So politically, they have to back the president. And all of that. Then you got the news networks, which, let me just tell you this. You do not trust anything coming from the news network. Not from Fox, not CNN. Those two are in opposition. One is a Republican station, and the other one is a Democrat station. I'll give you an example. Today, the president gave a speech, and they said, well, this is the first time finally the president came out and he said something. He said something over the weekend, but of course, to some people that didn't account because he was at another function. But irregardless, the point that I'm making is that if you was to watch Fox News, and I hit the record button on Fox News so I can come back. I watched the speech on Fox News that he gave probably about an hour or so ago. I watched it on Fox News, hit the record button, and then after it was over, I immediately, while that was recording, I went to CNN. And one of the reasons why I went to CNN was because I wanted to hear their response to the president's speech. And of course, oh, this was terrible. He just poured gasoline on this situation. He doesn't have any legal rights to do this and to do that. And we're dealing with the president that once again, this is what he's dividing the country. He's boom, 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 boom. All the, what I call the negative adjectives. This is horrific. This was appalling. This was embarrassing. This has polarized. All of the adjectives, And again, I'm not one way or the other. I'm just bringing notations out. And then when I went back to Fox News and started to watch what they were saying, what I had recorded. Oh, this was great. And once again, the president came out and, he was so courageous and it showed leadership, and he applauded the individuals that were out doing peaceful demonstration, and he took a hard stance to reassure the American people. And I'm saying, how do you have two major networks with two different viewpoints? We're divided, and you can tell the America is divided because media is divided. Political parties are divided. We're living in a divided era. Now, what does that mean? How can you line all of this up biblically? Russia is getting its house in order, and it must get its house in order. America must digress so that there can be more political strength in Europe and in the Middle East. That it has to happen. It is what is inevitable when you look at what's going to happen with the European Union. America is going to lose its standing, it's going to lose its footing, it's going to lose its position, it's going to lose its credibility. It has to. If you all remember during the Venezuela issue last year, I had indicated that America is making promises that it cannot keep. And when America told the sitting president, get out or else, and we're now recognizing Guaido as the president, and I came on and we had some discussions, and I said, listen, it's not the end of the world, but we need to watch this. And we watched it. And even though it had nothing to do with the United States, I said, we need to watch it. And the reason why I said we needed to watch it is because I knew Russia and China and Turkey, who are three players that where that army is going to come from in the Middle East, that's going to cross over the Euphrates, that's going to do a lot of damage. Right now, that incident in Venezuela would either show where we are in prophecy or where we not are in prophecy. Now, why do I say those three are together? Because Russia and China and Turkey, especially Russia and Turkey, are the Medo-Persians. That's the Russians are the Medes and Turkeys are the Persians. And with Iran and what have you, all of that over there, those are the Persians. Russians are the Medes. So China, Russia and China are obviously allies. China loaned Venezuela a lot of money. And what they did was Venezuela was supposed to pay the money back, and if they didn't, their assets belongs to China. That was the collateral. China brings in Turkey because Turkey has the resources to extract the gold. So when that issue happened, Russia landed and put troops there. The United States did nothing. It was wolf cookies. They did absolutely nothing. And to this day, a year later, still nothing was done. Now, that had to happen so Russia can start getting its house in order as a power player in Europe and in the Middle East. This is how that the Almighty sends that army in Zechariah, the 14th chapter. Now, here's the other thing. There's some other key things that took place. The United States pulled out of a major Middle East country, and when they did, Russia moved in. Trump caught a lot of political flack behind it, but he did what he had to do. He did it because he's being directed. He's been led because he's in position of power where the Almighty is still in control. Now, here in the United States, now the United States has to lose its credibility. They're losing their power. They're losing certain respect. But now this is a credibility issue because this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing at a time such as this where none of your people at home inside, it's not a black thing. It's a multi-ethnicity issue. It's a social issue. You've got everybody jumping in on this issue because it's so obvious that what happened to Brother Floyd in Minnesota, it was so horrific. You would have to be insane not to see that there's something wrong with a police officer, several on top of a man handcuffed, and you got bystanders with phones filming you, telling you that as the man is crying out, you're killing him. And you don't let up. You all saw the video. I'm not talking about that. My point is, it brought out people who said, you know what? No. Now that's too far. That's too far. There's some legitimacy in this Black Lives Matter issue. No, we got to step in. Just like when Martin Luther King was killed and people were getting dogs sicked on them, and the police was letting dogs just go and bite women and young people. No, they said this is not right. We can't do this. This is racial injustice. You cannot have it where a people in this country cannot go and sit down at a restaurant and eat. That's wrong. You can't stop people from going inside of a movie theater. You can't have bathrooms where people have to walk longer distance. I don't know if y'all saw the movie. It was based upon a true story. It was called Hidden Figures, where the ladies who work for NASA, true story. I mean, their input to the space program, whether somebody believes that it really happened or not, they were there. Whatever happened. But my issue is, that's the true story. And the women, they're still living today, how they had to go to 2 buildings just to use the bathroom and in the rain and then rush back. So people said this is wrong. So it was after Martin Luther King's death that people said, you know what, this is wrong. This is not right. This is not right. Just like this here, this is not right. This is not right. This is why so many people are jumping in on it. But unlike what happened in the 60s, you got a pandemic. You have, in the middle of a pandemic, you have a nation that is politically, racially divided during a pandemic when something like this happens. So why is this? Because America has to digress. It has to lose its credibility. It has to lose its political footing so that Russia, Turkey, and China can start to become a power player in the European Union and in the Middle East. And this is why you have turmoil that you're going to have now, because everything has to take place during that European Union. Now, one of the big things that had to happen in that European Union is that Britain is a Protestant country. It has to come out. It had to come out. It did come out. The issue is that European Union treaty is called the Treaties of Rome. I did a discussion on that. We're not going to go into that tonight. But the treaty itself is called the Treaties of Rome because it symbolically is letting you know something already. So right now, this is something to definitely keep your eyes on, and it simply lets us know that Russia is now in a position with China, with Turkey, and with Iran, the Medos, Persians, to get their house in order. Because one thing, America is spread too thin right now. It's spread. It's dealing with a financial, economical issue. I got to add that on top. I got to put that inside the cake too. I got to put that inside the cake. You're dealing with a financial crisis. You're dealing with a pandemic. You're dealing with a racially divided country in the middle of an election year where people are politically divided during a race riot where you have multiple ethnic groups that have joined in. And there's no control. And now you have to call in the National Guard and perhaps the military. And America cannot handle nothing right now abroad. You got all of your international terrorists. I'm sure they're planning something right here in America. It's no ifs, ands, and buts. Nothing else would surprise you. Nothing else would surprise you. Or somebody's making an international terrorist act abroad. Nothing at this point will surprise me because Russia and China and Turkey and Iran are getting, that is a group right there. That is a group. And you can just see it happening. It's right here before our eyes. So that's when I say, let's do some live chat, iReality. So I just wanted to get into it. I really want to get into it. I'm going to look in the chat room and see. Faith and Hope says, so glad that you are. I'm so sad about this. She's talking about that I'm talking about it tonight. I have a huge question. With these other groups that have entered, they are being very destructive. Well, so let me say this. What's being reported is that there are a lot of groups who are grassroots groups who they've actually taken video. It's not them doing the destruction. It's other groups like Antifa. These are homegrown groups, by the way, homegrown. They're organizations. Now, these groups are not new, by the way. These groups are not new. Whenever you have an issue out in Seattle, Washington, because a lot of things take place in Seattle, Washington, because that's where they were having a lot of the conferences at, these groups go out there and they start big riots all the time. They are against large vehicles, the animal rights. They have several different causes, and they're very violent. They're very malicious. They go around. There's another name for the group. They did change some names, but they are very, very violent. So those groups are the ones that have jumped in on this. You can tell them because you'll see them on the news, even like when I go watch it tonight. You'll go look at them whenever you see somebody carrying a black sledgehammer on their backpack, they're in that group. That's their trademark. And then they'll put the letter A with a circle around it. So when you see the police cars that are burnt up and the buildings are burnt up, look very closely for the A. The letter A as an apple with a circle around it. And then you'll see some other groups. They have other different insignias that you will see. So yeah, those are the groups that are going around. Now what they normally do is that they will use their devices to break open the business, and then they'll whistle and tell everybody, hey, it's open. So that's when everybody runs in. Their motive is just to create chaos. Now here's their mode of operation. Once everybody goes in and the police comes and everybody runs out, once the police get there and everybody's running, they always lurk nearby. As soon as the police leave, because they're not going to sit there and guard a business all night, as soon as the police leave, they go back and start the fire. Now what they do is they start a diversion someplace else. They'll start a fire, they'll start an issue 10 blocks away. And then once all the police and everybody goes over there, then they have another group that is breaking inside of a particular business. Now they target certain businesses that has products that impact the environment, that impact animals, that impact what's another thing the factories in China where They put the clothing together, the Nikes together, and they use what they call cheap labor. They'll target those countries. They'll target those businesses. Those are the businesses that they target because they boycott those. If you look at their websites, they all talk about those type of businesses. And so what they'll do is they'll look for those businesses that has those products. Then they'll go in there, break it open, tell everybody to come. And then when the police get there, when the police leave, then they set that place on fire. They don't set it on fire when they first break the door because they want people to come in and get the products and take them out for free. Then when the police leave, that's when they do their thing. They set it on fire and leave their trademark, which is an A around a circle. So that's, you can see what's happening, and that's how they do it. So when is this going to end? This is not going to end until those other police officers are arrested. So we have an economic collapse. We have a pandemic. We have an election year where the country is divided. It's divided because the news media is divided. There's no respect across the aisle. And the media has caused this. The media, trust me when I tell you this, the media is in my opinion, the number one instigators in this. They're the number one instigators in this. So that's it. I mean, that's what's happening. And it was amazing, like I said, when I listened to the adjectives being put out by Fox, and then go to NBC and CNN and listen to the adjectives that are put out. Two separate descriptives of that speech on far ends of the spectrum as to what they did in all of that. So I'm going to look inside the chat room. So her question was, these other groups that have entered, they are being very destructive. And that's who those groups are, Sister Faith. Social distancing is non-existent at the present. Absolutely. And that's what concerns me. Because we are in the midst of a pandemic. There is no cure. There is no antibiotic. And certainly somebody is going to contract this. And the numbers are definitely going to go up if it's still active. There's no focus on the pandemic. Makes you wonder. Well, you can't focus on it. I mean, if you're not focusing on what happened to Brother Boyd, if you're not focusing on that, something's wrong. And the media, this just shows you where the hype of the media is. The media, and let me just show you. Let me just show you how hypocritical the media is. How hypocritical the media is. You had a football quarterback on this same issue take a knee, and let me tell you, they ridiculed him. The media did. The media came at him so hard for taking a stance on this same issue that the pressure put on by the media on both sides of the fence, Democrats and Republicans, Fox News and CNN, that it caused him and the NFL players to come together, and he got kicked out of the NFL. The guy who should be saying, I try to tell you, is Colin Kaepernick right now. He should be saying, hey, listen, you all excommunicated me for making a stance on this same issue. You did. And then when Nike jumped in and says, most of our buyers are African Americans, and they crossed the line. They gave him a contract. Well, the majority of America, who are not minorities, started going on YouTube, taking their tennis sneakers and burning them. You remember that? They were burning the Nike sneakers, because if you give Colin a contract, I'm not wearing another pair of sneakers. And then it was somebody else, one of the trucking companies joined in. I don't know if it was Ford or Chevy, I can't remember which one. They joined in and said, hey, come on, And there were people out in Idaho on farms who was taking their trucks from that manufacturer and setting them on fire. Now, because this was so blatantly obvious, now that all of America's jumping in, Colin should be saying right now, I told you guys, you got mad at me, you kicked me off the NFL, you needed quarterbacks in several teams, you wouldn't give me a chance, I had to sue, and it's because I took a stance. Now you got NBA players and you got football players who now jumping on the bandwagon. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. They want to go out and have a kumbaya. And I'm glad to see it. I think it's the right thing to do. You've seen some sheriffs and chiefs and everybody's going out and, hey, you know what? I want to join you and I want to kneel with you. It's the political correct thing to do right now. It really is. I mean, if you do it, you're a hero. But now everybody's doing it. So it's really almost, but all that to say that if you look at this, Colin Kaepernick and those that stood with him said, this is an issue. This is all we're saying. We only took a social stance on a legitimate issue on the platform in which we can get the best recognition and awareness. And when he did it, bam, kabooyah. And here's where the hypocritical issues comes at. You're dealing with the generation now. That doesn't see, they see things as they are. And of course, every so many years this happens, because you all don't remember the I think it was called the Hillsborough Boys. They were college students over in the Carolinas, and they decided that they were going to go inside of a Woolworth and they were going to sit down at the counter. They were arrested. They were college students. Well, there was a all-white girls' college that was in the area. They came out and says, you know what? This is wrong. And they went out and marched. For the injustice when those guys were arrested. So look at the history. You can read that whole case. I've read it. I read it all. I saw it, what happened. And that's just one of the things I do is I go back and look at some of this stuff because it's interesting, and I go back and look at it. So this is when everybody jumps on board. Other than that, people are jumping on board because they see the majority of the youth, people who are not brown and black, jumping in on this and saying, no. And those are your future people of tomorrow. They are your future of tomorrow. They're saying, no, we ain't buying this. Enough's enough. So now people are jumping in on the bandwagon. So it's just some observations. We're just having a live chat tonight. That's all, live chat. Let me go over here and pick up some more comments over here. We have Albert says, economic collapse, absolutely. How you doing? That's Tech Master. First time you're here, I believe. Thank you for being inside the chat room. Queen Clelo says, yes, I see so many people without masks. It's so sad they don't fear. If anymore they're not focusing on. Social distancing, Pastor, is so hard. Yes, it is. I'm going to put your comments back up here, Queen Cleo. And what I want to do is make you all's comments at least 20 seconds long so I can read them. She says, yes, I see so many people without masks. It's so sad they don't fear. If any more they're not focusing on. Social distancing, Pastor, is hard. To watch negativity all over, we must seek the Most High. Well, I agree. This is the time that we must make sure that the scriptures tells us what we must do in order to have a hedge around us. Deborah says, a nation divided can't stand. Babylon is falling. Certainly this nation is not standing, and it certainly is having this issue and its impact and its credibility worldwide. How you doing, Sister Nancy up in New York? Sister Sheila, how you doing? So Sister Queen Cleo says, it's so sad to watch the groups burning buildings and cars, stealing out of multiple businesses. And again, these are outside groups who break in, who have an agenda, and then they have those groups come back. And then after they run and the police take a couple of people, if they catch them, then they come back and set it on fire. I think they have a different agenda, and it is using this extremely sad situation. Absolutely. The police have no fear, and they're wrong. They don't. And what happened? There was an issue in Fort Lauderdale yesterday where an officer, they put him on administrative leave. And when they put him on administrative leave, they showed that another female officer, when he grabbed someone who was sitting on the ground peaceably, just sitting and demonstrating, he was leaving the crowd. He grabbed her by her head and pushed her down. Well, another officer came over and grabbed him and literally threw him out of the way and said, "What's wrong with you?" And so right away they suspended that officer with pay, and they're conducting a criminal investigation. But officers are now saying as a result of the Minnesota case, officers are now saying, you know what? If you're going to do that with me, I'm going to let everybody know I don't condone this. Because I'm not going to lose my job because I sit there and look at you do some foolishness when I got a mouth to feed at home. So, yeah, that is what's happening. That's really what you're going to start to see happen. Policing started in slavery. These wicked beasts have been brutalizing us for centuries. Well, I can't disagree with you. I will say that there are some legitimate players who are in the profession, but I also would tell you this. There has been a documented fact by the federal government that there are numerous groups who are white supremacists and Ku Klux Klan groups that have infiltrated the police department. They know it. What are they doing about it? I don't know, but they need to look back and look closely and open up their books. But because they're being used as a political whip to go against each other politically, but they do know that, and they've known this for the past 8-9 years. So, yeah. It's so hard, Pastor. It's so sad. She says it's so sad. Yes, it is. Brother Galvin says it's against the Constitution to use the military against the citizens of the United States. Well, that's been stated. That's been stated by CNN. If you listen to Fox, they will quote you a constitution that has been on the records, a law since the 1800s that says that you can do it. Okay? Who do I believe? I believe the law. I don't go by what CNN says. CNN says it's against the law. The president can't do it. And they didn't use a law. They didn't use a statute. They didn't use a constitutional amendment. They just said, oh, it's against the law. He can't do that. He can't violate the states. Well, on CNN, there was a lady that they were talking to, and she's not pro-Trump, but she says, well, wait a minute. There is a law that the president can do it. It's always best to get the governor's permission, but it has been done. There is a law, and he says, "Well, thank you very much. I want to get out of here. I need to bring in this person." So they brought in somebody else on a different subject. That's what they do. Anderson Cooper, he just did it. So all these guys, they look like, but man, they all shady. I don't care if they're on Fox. I don't care if they're on CNN. They're all shady in their reporting. They're just shady because they all have an agenda. It's just that simple. So yes, can the president use the military to bring them in? Yeah. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to say he can't do it? I mean, come on. The question is, will he do it? That's the question. I don't think he'll do it because he has a history of saying things that he never carries out. So, deep, Pastor. Thank you, Sister Nancy. Sister Faith says, Pastor, what do you think of the AU condemning police in U.S. actions and U.S. Demanding justice for us? Are you talking about the EU, the European Union, condemning police in U.S. actions and U.S. demanding justice for us? I think you mean the EU. If you're talking about the AU, put down what that stands for, if you don't mind. But if you're talking about the EU, I will give it. Yes, the Antifa groups, and they have other names too. Put that in there for me, Sister Faith and Hope. They are funded as well. Antifa, I think that's it. That is the group. Infiltrators, yes. Antifa, Black Lives Matter are not for us. I can't say Black Lives Matter does not have a positive agenda. I think that we should look at who in particular started Black Lives and see if there is an agenda in orchestrating the agenda. That's some homework for you. So look who started Black Lives and see what their agenda is for starting Black Lives. Okay? There is an agenda behind that. Antoinette says, really? Wow, did not know that hate group. Antifa is not a hate group. Antifa is a conservation activist. They're activists. It's an activist group, but they play very dirty. That's about the best way I can tell you. Somebody funded by George Soros, evildoers. He says blacks are easily manipulated. I think you're talking about what the president said. So we have to be careful. I'm putting here, let's say, there are curses, herbal cures. There is cures, herbal cures that are being kept from us to force vaccine on us. I have mixed opinions about that. Here's what I say. I believe in herbal medicine. I believe in consuming herbs to naturally boost the immune system, learn what they are, learn what their capabilities are, and do a lot of studying on them. Should it be considered over all medicines? I don't know. I have mixed opinions about that. I think that if you can do some preventive stuff, I support herbs. Once you get into the circumstance, there's very few cases that herb alone was a total cure. That's what I can say. I say be proactive now when it comes to herbs. Yes, and not everyone wants to take a knee. Now everybody wants to take a knee. Absolutely. Everybody wants to take a knee now. I'm telling you. Didn't Trump put pressure on all the football commissioners to halt the kneeling? Yeah, he did. I mean, that was a political move. And not only did Trump, you had the news media who also had their play in it, because it was the American flag issue. It was Colin Kaepernick, and it's the flag, and it's the United States, and then they were divided on the issue. Okay? So the media put a lot of pressure, because media passes policy. Media will use an agenda because there are other people behind the media, who runs the media, who owns the media. There's groups that own CNN, and they push an agenda. So they put it out there as a newsworthy problem issue to make lawmakers and get citizens riled up and push the agenda. They do it all the time. I think blacks spend more hard-earned money on sneakers than anyone else. Absolutely. And that's why Nike knew that, and that's why they jumped on it, because they said, listen, let's roll the dice on this, because our buyers are not, they're black and brown people. They know that, so they jumped on it. Brother Rick says, all media is on. Rothschilds, etc., they control what is. And let me just say this. They are very good in controlling the media. During World War I, when Roosevelt Wilson was the president of the United States, the United States, it was during the industrial movement. The United States was a new growing country. They were getting things off the ground. The industrialization movement came in. Henry Ford had the car thing going, and it was about building industries and manufacturing and what happened like that. During that time, Europe or Britain was losing the war against Germany. It was those individuals that came in and said, don't give up the war. They says, well, Germany wants to talk. They want to sit down, because all we're doing in Europe is killing each other. So Germany says, let's sit down and let's talk. And they says, don't do that, because you will go down as losing the war. If we bring United States into the war, if we can get them to come across the seas and join into this war, on your side as your allies, would you stay in the war? And they says, yes, but United States already said they're not coming in. They said, let us handle it. We will get them into the war. And they says, okay. And they says, and in return, Israel is under your colony. We want that as a home. It belonged to the Palestinians, but it was under British rule. I'm talking about Israel. And what happened was they said, okay, if you can get the United States in it. Well, the media, through all of the Rothschilds and people like that, they had power of the press. They had no photos, although they had cameras. They used cartoon pictures, drawing pictures where Germany, with the helmets with the little point on the top, was going inside Belgium, and they were cutting off babies' arms. And they said, look at what they're doing in Europe. They're going across and they're cutting off babies' arms and hands, and they're going through, and they're not just taking over the territory, they're killing people as they go. They're doing genocide. They're killing dogs and cats and women, and they're beating up people and taking their property. Well, Woodrow Wilson, I said Roosevelt Wilson, Woodrow Wilson, President Woodrow Wilson jumped into the war. Woodrow Wilson jumped into the war. I believe he was a one-term president. I got to go back and look at it. He jumped into the war, got America in. Yes, Germany lost. America went on the side of Britain, and that's how the war ended. Britain, in return, had to give up land, and so that's when all of those that were converts practicing the Jewish religion came in and claimed Israel as their homeland. But you know, we read this in prophecy the other night when I was doing the lesson. We read it right from the book, that another would take your land and put themselves in your position, Israel. When I put you out, there be another. So that's all prophecy, and that actually happened. Arthur Kessler wrote a book called The 13th Nation. I'm not telling you nothing that's not already admitted by people who are so-called Khazar Jews today. They know how they got there. So that's nothing new. So the point that I'm making is that yes, what you said, that the media is on and propaganda can be pushed any way that certain people in control can. Suspension with pay is ridiculous. Twyla B says, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. The KKK are on the force Tears Day. Maybe I think he's trying to say for years. Yes. No, AU, the African Union. Okay, no, AU, African Union. So let me go back up to your question. Your question was that you asked me, Sister Faith. Let me go back up here to the question that you originally asked about the AU, since you're talking about the African Union. You says, Pastor, what do you think of the African Union condemning police in U.S. actions in U.S. demanding justice for us? Well, listen, I did hear that. Now, I did hear that. And yes, let me say this. There are several African countries, because of the anniversary date of 2019, they said, listen, we're offering any of our brothers and sisters for the injustice that we did. You can come home now. We want you to come home. And so not only did Nigeria, but so did Ghana and other African countries say, we want to open up and we will allow you to have dual citizenship. Now, what does that do? That allows you to bring your American dollar, and you're eligible to buy land. There was a group that went over to Africa, but during the pandemic, they wanted to come back home. In fact, quite a bit did come back home. While we got so many of you all here in the chat room and watching, I want to take a few minutes to advertise our phone app. Do not go anywhere. I'll be right back. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Let's go a little bit more in here to some of the comments that are being made. Now in these days, the KK are on the police force. They did infiltrate, yes, and the FBI knows that. Not all police officers are part of the KKK, but there are quite a bit of recruits that have infiltrated this situation. The African nations are now condemning the U.S. Yes, they are. They are condemning the U.S. The issue is with Africa right now, in my opinion, based on the politics that I see and the politics that I watch, because I watch all African news right now. Africa is a wonderful place, but it has political unrest also. Should you go to Africa? So you move to Africa? Go anywhere you want to live. That's the freedom of going anywhere in the United States. But at the end of the day, when the abomination of the desolation starts, you better get to the wilderness. That's the only safe place, is the wilderness. Black Lives, I researched them. Yes, they are an extremist Antifa groups. Yes, they are. MOKES was started with false flags. Yes, sister. Let me see, that is Brother Landon says false flags. False flags. My glasses, Landon, my eyes this time of night. As for Woodrow Wilson, Pastor, I think the elite had some dirt information on Woodrow Wilson to get him to get into. Yes, they did. They did. When you look at the history books, they did have some stuff on him. Yes, thank you, Brother Abraham. He only served one term. He may be like this president here. I don't know. Faith says, you all please hit the like button. Thank you, Sister Faith. The elite are funding everything that's going on, pushing their agenda. Well, let me just say this. The elite, everybody's going to take advantage of this. Because whenever you got young people who are crossing ethnicity grounds, ethnic grounds, and this is a one voice agenda, everybody jumps in on it. Everybody wants to capitalize. Everybody wants to be a part of it. Everybody. And that's why everybody starts saying, wait a minute, we got not only black and brown people, we got white people, we got Hispanic people, we got Asian people. Everybody's jumping in on this. You got to jump in on this bandwagon. Everybody's jumping in on it. They really are. Correction, he served 2 terms. On his second term, he helped establish the Nobel Peace Prize. He died of a stroke. Thank you, Brother Abraham. Brother Abraham is, I know he knows for a particular reason. The wilderness, Pastor, would happen before or after the first resurrection. Well, the wilderness happens before the first resurrection. The wilderness, we need to get into the place of safety during the tribulation. The resurrection does not happen until the Messiah returns. In Matthew 24, it says, immediately after the tribulation, that's when the Son of Man appears. Pastor, where is the wilderness you're referring to? I'm going to do a lesson on that, but there is, and I've done one on it. I may have to do another one to keep it refreshed. I need to maybe go back and look at it and repost that lesson. But the wilderness is in the same place it was when the children of Israel left out of Egypt and went into the wilderness, because the promised land is still in the same place. And the wilderness right now is desert. That's what it is. It's all desert. It's all dry land. Nobody wants to go out there. If it was good land, they'll build condos on it. But it's dry land. It's for nothing. And so that's how that works. Yeah. I'm gonna listen. I want to give you all our information. This is our contact information. I do ask that you do show some support toward this channel so we can continue to do great things. There is our Cash App right there. That's our Patreon. Send us an email. I like to hear from you. You can also call. I like to hear from you. Just call to say hello. I do answer the phone. And I'm going to always do that. No matter how big of the amount of subscribers we get, I'm going to answer the phone. I want to check my email. And that's what I'm going to always do because I'm here for you. Many of you all are Patreons, you're supporters. And one of the things I try to do to give back to you is we still have our Zoom account. That's a monthly expense. The 800 number is a monthly expense. The software that we're using is an annual monthly expense. So one of the things I will do when we have supporters like you, if there's any subject that you are having trouble with, that you want a one-on-one, send me an email. I will provide a time that we can do a Zoom meeting one-on-one. I can open up the scriptures and show them to you, okay? So if there's anything like that, send me an email, and I do that. I try to put myself in a position that if you support and you're here and you're a part of this channel, I put myself in a pastoral role for you. So I just want to let you know. I thought I heard the wilderness is in Africa. No, the wilderness is the same place it is in the scriptures, and where it's always has been. So that's where it's at. How do we get there? Well, let me just say this. The scripture says that the Lord in Revelations that he will bear us on eagle's wings. Some people say, oh, that means he's going to put us on planes. No, when you go back and look at what happened when the children of Israel came out of Egypt, in the book of Psalms, he says, I bared you on eagle's wings. So we know that the children of Israel didn't fly out, so he's using the same terminology. It means it's by his power. The children of Israel did not have to fight a war. They did not have to provide their own ticket, their own way. They didn't have to do nothing. All they had to do is be in a position. And the same thing is going to happen. When it's time to go through the wilderness, you will know. The Almighty will let you know, and you will get there if you want to get there. There are some people who is not going to understand. They will not get to the wilderness. How do you know that? Because Revelations, the 12th chapter, tells you that. Not everybody gets to the wilderness. Some are going to go through this tribulation because for whatever reason, they don't want to leave their homes. They don't want to leave their jobs. When it's time to go, a lot of people are not going to have that faith to go, and they're going to want to stay. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I'm going to the wilderness. That's it. I'm going, and I'm going to know, and we all will know. And you don't have to provide a way. You will get there, however that may be. We will get there. If you desire to get there, you will get there. But I'll do another lesson on that. I will. Israel is part of Africa. I'm sure that the boundary lines there, when you go back to see how things were replatted, I'm certain of that. Absolutely. So I wanted to put our information in there. I'm going to get out of here because I can tell you right now, I'm going to go in there and watch a little of the news and see what's happening and we'll see what's going on and get into bed early tonight. So I want to thank all of you all for tuning in. Thank you for coming on. And we're going to play somebody for you on the way out the door. But I want you all to hit the like button if you would. Please hit the like button. And we're going to play, I don't know, we have this young guy, he gave out a new song, and we're going to probably bring that in there. and then we're going to end out. That's what we're going to do. So again, thank all of you all for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button. I will see you tomorrow night, Lord's willing. We may have a lesson from Brother Yerushalayim. I told you I was going to play some more of him. I may come on a little bit and do an end or come back through that. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. So we're going to be doing that. And I have to go look at some videos pertaining to this software. All of these nice commercials and everything that we're doing. Thank all of you all for your contributions to help us get this underway, to make this platform what it is so that we can better serve you. I want to thank you for it. There are some courses that I have to take on YouTube classes to learn how to perfect this. So I'm going to do a little bit of that, watch the news, and fall asleep. So peace and blessings to all of you all. It was a wonderful feast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Love you all. Peace, and we will talk soon.
You did not create me to worry. You did not create me to fear. But you created me to worship daily. So I'ma leave it all right here. My hands are raised because I surrender. Your will is what's best for me. I worship you because you're Jehovah Jireh. I bow before the King of Kings. No more crying, no more complaining. I believe your word is true. Lord, you promised never to leave me lonely. So this is what I'm going to do. I will trust in you, Lord. I will trust in you, Lord. I will put my trust in you. I will trust in you, Lord. I will trust in you, Lord. I will put my trust in you. Did not create me to worry.
Mommy, the pizza done.
Oh, I forgot the pizza.
It's warm up, Mommy.
Love, as I have loved you. What does that really mean? Sometimes it's hard to understand what Jesus meant when he said it, because in the world that we live in, people love us based on circumstance or preference. Like, if I like what you like, you'll like me. or if I do what you do, you'll accept me. Yet the one that should have rejected me because I wasn't at all like him didn't. Matter of fact, in spite of my imperfections, failures, and flaws, Christ saw something in me that was worth reconciling back to him. So it's no longer I who live, but he who lives through me, and gives me the courage to fearlessly love you, despite what you do to me, or how you treat me, at my job, at my school, at my church, even in my own family. So let's not view each other in light of our earthly stature, but more as Christ's ambassadors, showing the world that we who are once blinded to this love have tasted this love and lived to share his love. I believe this, and only this, will help put an end to hate and animosity. It ain't no wishful thinking, man. It's his philosophy. And prayerfully, it's our democracy. That if we did, it would change everything.